Hi everyone, welcome back to N.O.A. the Explorer. I am Dr. Akaranu. I am an adult, child, and adolescent psychiatrist. In this video, we're going to continue our discussions on the inpatient psychiatry unit and what to expect when you are admitted to an inpatient psychiatric unit. Today's video, we're going to talk about your treatment planning, assessment, and what exactly does all that mean. The assessment and treatment part is really where you should have met the psychiatrist. If you haven't, up until this point, met somebody who is going to be handling your medication management or at least leading the team that is going to be taking care of that. Typically, we would meet as a team. Sometimes you meet the psychiatrist by themselves. However, the first meeting, especially if you're at a teaching hospital, you're probably going to meet several team members, such as the attending psychiatrist, the resident physician psychiatrist, the fellows sometimes if it's a hospital that has psychiatry fellows who are also trainees and physicians. And then you also meet medical students, nurses, social work, and other members of the team. I've rotated at inpatient units that have psychologists as members of the team, as well as a separate therapist in addition to the psychologist. It really can vary from hospital to hospital, and depending on how their setup is, I will let you know. Usually the team, I say team, but it could really just be one or two people. All across the country, there is such a huge shortage of mental health professionals. So honestly, sometimes the team is just one or two people. Also, sometimes the other members of the team might not be able to meet right at that second, but throughout the day, instead of meeting everybody at once, you meet them one at a time throughout the day. Once you meet the team, we will ask you questions again. So if this is someone that I personally have admitted from the emergency room, then I'm not going to ask you the same questions, right? But if I haven't seen you before and you're coming on the unit, somebody else admitted you, and this is my first time meeting you, I will ask you similar questions to clarify what happened and brought you to the hospital. And usually at this point in time, most patients are starting to remember more details that they will let me know to help me come up with your treatment plan, your assessment, my differential diagnosis, which is the things that I should keep in mind that I could potentially be diagnosing for you. If you haven't watched my video on what to expect when you see a psychiatrist for the first time, I'll put that in the information bar because a lot of the questions that I will ask on the inpatient unit is similar, except this time I'm really trying to clarify what is the crisis, how can we help you with that crisis, and how can we get you stable so you can get back home as safely as we can. In the United States, most inpatient units focus on crisis stabilization, so you don't typically stay there for long. In the past, before my time, people would stay on psychiatry units for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. We don't have that anymore. Sometimes you can have like maybe a private hospital that has some of those extended stays, but generally most psychiatry units are short-term stays. Longer stays are typically maybe the state hospital or, different types of patients. And like I said, private boutique inpatient psychiatric treatment centers. So there is a huge effort in the United States to deinstitutionalize. You typically will not get these months and months and months stay on an inpatient psychiatric unit. At some point you will get discharged and you will go home, and we try to optimize and stabilize as best as we can, as efficiently as we can. Sometimes a little too efficient according to the insurance companies calling me, asking me, why is this person still on the unit? Why haven't you discharged them? It's been 3 days. Sometimes that happens on the back end, that the insurance companies are like, well, if they're not suicidal anymore and they're no longer a danger to themselves, why are you still keeping them? The insurance companies don't understand sometimes that, well, someone might not be suicidal, but that doesn't mean they should go home. That doesn't mean the things that brought them in the hospital we've addressed, right? Like if you were living with someone who is aggravating your mental health, maybe that's not the best environment to go back into. So now we have to potentially come up with a different plan for where you're going to stay. Now, the hospital cannot find housing, but we can certainly look at resources in the area if you are in a dangerous housing situation so that you can go somewhere safer. Now, the insurance companies don't particularly care. As long as you are no longer imminently at risk to yourself or others, they want you to leave the hospital. That's some of the things that I have to fight on the back end to get my patients the care that they need. But typically, you will meet with the treatment team and the psychiatrist to kind of talk through those things. You should meet the team daily. Most teaching hospitals, if not all teaching hospitals, you should be seeing at least at the bare minimum your resident, right? The resident that's taking care of you, the resident physician, you should see them daily. Sometimes we present to the attending and the attending will go around on their own or talk to patients on their own. It really just depends. Like when I rotated at the state hospitals, the attending doesn't see the patient every day. All the jobs I've had, I see the patients every day. So you should be seeing someone after your initial meeting with the psychiatrist. Usually we check on you daily, if not weekly. But again, that depends on the hospital and their policies. And quite frankly, it depends if they have the staff available to do it. Because sometimes something happens and maybe the psychiatrist is sick or calls out abruptly and the hospital is scrambling to try to find someone to cover those patients urgently. Again, I keep saying typically, usually, generally, because I really can't say for sure this is what's going to happen because every hospital is different. I'm currently working as a locum tenens psychiatrist. I have several videos on that. Please go watch those. But every hospital I've been to, things are different. I see patients every day. But I have rotated at facilities where the psychiatrist doesn't see the patient every day. I have also heard from my colleagues and my friends who also work in hospitals that sometimes you don't see the psychiatrist every day. But again, wherever the state law is, that's what the hospital has to abide by. And sometimes they can kind of come up with creative ways to do that. This is just something to kind of Google, look up, and then if you make your way to the hospital, just kind of ask them, how does that typically go? I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. And in the next video, we are going to be continuing our discussion on inpatient psychiatry. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.